Hi, I'm Lissette Feliciano. I'm the writer, director, producer of Women is Losers, playing at the Bentonville Film Festival.
Well, I guess let's start with Janice.
Oh, yeah, please.
What attracted you to your title, and how kick-ass is it to have that title?
So good. I was like, at some point, someone's going to make me change this, and so far, nobody has, so thank God. So I wanted to make a movie in the 60s and the 70s, and I wanted it to have the music of the women musicians of the time period, and you can't like throw a rock without hitting Janis Joplin in this time period. And I actually never really listened to her prior to this, which is weird because I'm like from San Francisco, but it's kind of like going to Alcatraz. Like you're like, I never go because I like live there. So like Janis Joplin was like, yeah, I'm not, I hadn't listened to anything. So obviously she's like one of five at the time period because of the stuff that we're dealing with in the film. So I listened to her songs and I was like, oh, these are bitchin'. They're awesome. Sorry, I don't know what you
No, you can't.
Okay. It's like, these are great. And then I looked at her early discography at the time that the movie starts, which was 1967, and there's a song called Women is Losers. And I looked at the title, and probably like how you guys are going to see my title and have an emotional reaction and go, what the? And I was like, see, this is fake feminism and blah, blah, blah. She's just an icon. They've been telling me all this stuff, and I knew it wasn't real. As I listened to the song, as I hope you guys will watch the movie, I listened to the song, and I realized very quickly that what she's singing in the song was the thesis of my film, which was it seems like no matter what we do, somehow we still get the short end of the stick. And what I thought was so beautiful about the song in particular was that she wasn't sugarcoating it, and she was acknowledging a truth that we weren't that I think seems to be, too painful to acknowledge. Sometimes we're just like, yeah, everything's great. Things are moving. We're doing real great, aren't we? It's fantastic. So many new rights. Yeah. And sometimes it's just, okay, stop for a second. It's okay to say, hey, this isn't good. I don't feel good about this, and this is really painful, and I can't put the smile on right now because my needs are not being met. And she was doing that in the 60s and the 70s, and here I was in 2021 still feeling the same way and writing a movie about being very honest about what it feels like to be a woman in America still, in particular a woman of the global majority, which is, it's hard. It really is difficult, and it's okay to say that. It's okay to acknowledge that.
In the filmmaking process, what did you stepwise do to give it the feel of the 60s and 70s in the film? Because I love the aesthetic of it. I love the way it looked.
Thank you. Okay, so we had a very limited budget, obviously. Everyone had told me, make your first movie in one room, and I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do that, guys. No offense. If you want to do it, great, do it. That's the story in your heart. But what I noticed was that the girls were getting told, make your film in one room so you can make it for $25,000, and the boys were getting $200,000, $300,000 to make their films in wherever they wanted to go, even at the indie space. So I started realizing that I was being asked to play small, and it wasn't about my ideas. It was about, this is all we're going to allow you to do. So I was like, well, I'm going to make a period piece. You don't have money for a period piece. I was like, I know. Oh, believe me, I know. So I said, well, what do I have? Well, I had access to my drama department in high school, and they had outfits. I had access to an amazing crew. The indie crew in San Francisco, they brought you some of the best films over the last decade, starting from Fruitvale to Blind Spotting to Diary of a Teenage Girl. Like, it's the same team in San Francisco, and they don't get enough credit. And so we worked with Susie Allegria, our director of photography. Our production designer. We worked with Farhad Dehelvi, our director of photography, who was an AFI kid, and he came out of school, and he's an immigrant, and he had a story that he wanted to tell through this film too. Liz Baca, who came in, was our costume designer. this was her first film, but she had a vintage background. And then, we definitely had a home team advantage. Like, I wanted to film this movie in the Mission District. It's a part of San Francisco that doesn't get filmed, similar to the Fillmore, similar to Chinatown, similar to so many of the marginalized communities in San Francisco. You usually get the cable cars and the Golden Gate Bridge, but that's a very different San Francisco than the one that I grew up in. So I wanted to film there, and I was holding my ground. And they're like, you can't film there, it's too expensive. I was like, oh, okay. That's the point. So the film's very meta. What we were dealing with making the film is exactly what the character is dealing with in her struggle to become a landowner. And so that fueled itself. That the struggle behind the camera and the struggle in the camera fueled each other.
I was totally going to ask about Fruitvale and that San Francisco connection and brotherhood. I'm curious, knowing that there were films like that were your inspiration, how much did you put into connecting with that crew, and is that something you're going to continue to do? Yeah, it's awesome. It's really cool. It's a nice little brother sisterhood of a I see you. I see where you came from. I see what you did there. It's really cool. And I gotta say, they were really inspirations for me to actually get up and be able to do this and to feel like I could, because they had done it, right? And they had done it in my backyard. So it's kind of like, well, hey, I want to play too, and that was, and seeing that success and seeing that authenticity, between obviously Ryan and David and everybody that's come out of San Francisco, it's just a really cool community up there. It's really cool to be up there. People just really believe in each other, and I'm telling you, the crews are the same. They're the same crews on the ground, and each one of them works so hard, and it's literally just okay, we're gonna do this because we want to tell the story of this community. Can you talk a bit about your casting and finding these people? Because I do feel it's a tremendous cast.
Thank you.
And they shine.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they do. Yeah. I mean, lucky, I'm just so lucky. I could talk about this cast all day, and they know it. They really wish they could be here. They couldn't. They're all working because obviously they're fantastic. Well, I'll start with my casting director, Claire Kuntz, who came onto the film and was, she'd been working in the Marvel world. She'd been working in a bunch of different places. And she came to the story and said, I want to help with this story because this is my story too. And I said, great, let's do it. And so we started looking for Selena. And when I met Lorenza Izzo, who is Selena, and she's fantastic. If you haven't seen her yet, you probably know her from Knock Knock or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is an opportunity for you to see her in a way that I don't think anyone's seen her yet. She is such a powerhouse. She's one of the most versatile actresses I have ever encountered. And she's very brave. This is a brave story to say yes to after coming off of a Tarantino set, you know what I mean? So it's it was very brave of her to do this, and she just shone. And our first meeting, it was just really love at first sight, because we didn't really talk about, we didn't audition or anything like that. It wasn't anything. It was just who are you? What do you want to say? How can we say this together? And her story was very similar to my story and how we grew up and things like that. And it was just a real sisterhood. And she came on to executive produce because of that, which was great and something that I would encourage everybody to consider, because it really is nice to not be the only person in the room that can go, hey, wait, does this relate to you? Do you feel this way? And then when we had Chrissy Fitt, she came on from Pitch Perfect. Again, all these people came from really big movies. She came on from Pitch Perfect, and she took this character on that, is a very difficult story to tell. It's about a woman who, goes through an illegal procedure at the time, and she doesn't make it out. And that's not a story that we ever see. So that was a huge thing to put on her shoulders, and she really shouldered that really, really well. And she really is the heartbeat of the film. And then you have, obviously, what was really cool is we had the older generation came on too to help us play in this world. So we had Stephen Bauer from Scarface, which gave us so much credit in the Mission District. San Francisco, a hard place to film in, but the Mission District is a very heavily Latino area, and they didn't really want us to be filming there. I think we were filming at a bar that was still open because we couldn't close it down. But when it got out, the Bauer was around, and all of a sudden we got a lot of credit. We're okay, we're gonna let them do their thing, Bowers in Town. That was awesome. And then obviously Brian Craig, he came on and he learned his lines in like 2 days to be in this movie. And just like, you know, he has a hard role too, because he has to come, as a man, he has to come into this story and sort of educate his generation about what it's like to be a partner, right, versus a husband, or, you know, he's unlearning all these versions of masculinity that he's been taught. And so like Brian really had to like put himself in those shoes and unlearn some of his own things, and also help the guys that come to this story, that are going to watch this story, walk through it. So that was really important. And then obviously cannot stop without saying Simu Liu. I'll stop. He's amazing. You guys are all going to know him September 3rd when he becomes Shang-Chi in Marvel's Legends of the Ten Rings, which is insane. And he was a superhero on set, and he's definitely a superhero now. So yeah, it's a cool cast. It's cool. I can't even believe I'm saying half that stuff.
What does it mean to be at this festival in particular, knowing that it highlights women of color, diverse filmmakers as a whole, and what did it mean to be included in this?
Yeah, we didn't expect it. Honestly, Bentonville is awesome, and it's one of those festivals that, like, as a filmmaker that looks like me, you know about it, right? There are these very specific pockets of places that you're like, okay, that is the place that I will be welcome. And that's really like highlighting these things. So to get into Bentonville, it's really cool because you walk in here and you meet someone and you know who the writer director is. It's going to be the female. And that's not how it is in most places in Hollywood. So it's really cool. It feels. I grew up in an all-girls school, so I went to an all-girls school, which is in the movie. That school we actually filmed in, and it kind of feels like that sorority sort of thing, and it's nice to be in a space where the conversation is accepted and you're not like also having to like bring the data to the conversation as well. So it's cool. It's really, really nice. And I think a lot of the festivals we obviously premiered at South by, and I think a lot of the festivals have really, really done an amazing job of being inclusive and really opening up their doors and championing us. So we're very happy to be here.
Thank you for telling this story. Thank you for shooting where you shot, obviously.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
And congrats on this cast. What a sick cast.
They're so cool. Aren't they crazy?
I was like, wait, is that really?
Yeah.
Actually, I was like, okay.
Yeah. They're amazing. They really are amazing. They're just good people. At the end of the day, they're just good. They're fantastic performers. But every single person in that camera, they're good people, and they mean what they say, and they do what they say, and that's why they have my support for the rest of my life, and I'll always back them, and hopefully we get to do it again soon.
We look forward to seeing you down the line in future work. We know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Marble. Okay. Bye.